Howdy, 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 my name is Nachi Sasuke, and welcome back to Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. In the last episode, I believe we left off with videos of a robbery, so this we're going to be starting with the white dog, then going through Shadow Play, Lachesis' spinner, what a dummy, and distant early warning. So, let's check out that dare white dog, probably not Crypto the Super Dog. It's Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. A restricted zone has been established in a 2-kilometer radius around SCP-1111-2. A public statement was released declaring it to be a weather monitoring station. Cameras are suspended from weather balloons, constantly monitoring the enclosure. Individuals may not come within 1 kilometer of 2 without explicit written permission from a level 4 researcher or higher. Should 1 move away from 2, all personnel are to evacuate the restricted zone until 1 returns to his position beneath 2. Description: 1 is an entity with an appearance similar to that of Canis familiaris, commonly known as the domestic dog. The size of 1 varies with its distance from 2. Directly beneath it, 1 is approximately 150 centimeters from ground to shoulders. The exact breed of 1 is unclear. It appears to be a mix with traits of both a Labrador Retriever and a German Shepherd clearly visible. 1 possesses a white coat and red eyes, both of which glow at luminosities directly proportional to its proximity to 2. At distances greater than 500 meters from 2, 1 gradually becomes translucent. Additionally, 1's speed, strength, and agility all seem to be inversely proportional to its distance from 2. A dog tag is affixed to a faded red collar around 1's neck. The tag reads, "Loyal." Left alone, 1 lies down beneath 2. It does not appear to sleep, or if it does, it is able to do so with its eyes completely open. It does not eat, drink, or breathe. Should 1 become aware of any person or object coming near 2, it will quickly become hostile and attempt to destroy the intruder. 1 has significantly increased physical abilities above a standard canine. Video records show it running at speeds in excess of 60 miles per hour, jumping 6 meters into the air and biting through 15 millimeters of titanium plating. 1 appears to be incorporeal, and as such, attempts to both neutralize it and examine 2 more closely have been met with failure. See Incident Log B for details. 2 has the appearance of a man hanged by a noose from a tree. The subject wears a faded business suit and dress shoes. Both are too worn to properly identify a manufacturer. 2 constantly jerks and twitches in a manner consistent with those of a man being hanged. Occasionally, gasps for breath can also be heard. The violence and energy of these jerks is directly proportional to 1's proximity to 2. As the distance between the 2 increases, the jerks and twitches decrease in violence and frequency. So it sounds like the dog is a ghost of the dog this person had when they were still alive. Okay, date. May the 2nd, 19-something. Assuming it's May, not February. Yeah, it looks like it's May. A team of blank agents were sent to attempt to neutralize 1 for transportation to a containment facility. The team approached 2 from the north, opposite the direction 1 was facing. The agents were able to come within 300 meters of 2, at which point 1 rose and attacked the agents without warning. Agent Blank, realizing that the mission had failed, began to flee the area. 1 pursued, but decreased in size, definition, and speed as it grew further and further away from 2. When 1 reached a distance of 900 meters from 2, 2 was observed to stop moving entirely. At this point, 1 froze for a moment and turned its head towards 2. 1 stayed in this position for a few seconds before howling once and sprinting back towards 2. 2 was observed to resume its jerking and twitching. Video records of the incident indicate that rounds fired at 1 passed through it without making contact, despite the fact that its teeth and claws proved solid when attacking agents. Agent Blank was the only one to survive the incident. 05 Blank. From this point forward, only D-Class and remote-operated drones may be used to approach 1111 directly. On May the 20th, Blank D-Class armed with data expunged were sent to approach 2 from various directions. Incident proved similar to the previous attempt. 1 proceeded to kill all of them. During the incident, 8311 was able to come within 50 meters of 2 before being killed. During this time, cameras noted an anomaly with 2. Its jerks slowed and its eyes opened and fixed on 8311, whose arms then raised towards them and what appeared to observers as a welcoming embrace. Moments before 8311 was killed by 1, 2's lips can be seen moving, mouthing what appears to be the words, "No, down, boy." Immediately after the death of 8311, 2 fell limp and resumed normal twitching. 05 Blank. It appears as though simply isolating 2 was enough to effectively contain 1. As such, all further testing is suspended, barring a significant development until further notice. Okay, so whatever is the deal with this guy, if anybody gets within 50 meters of him, he wakes up and starts trying to get the dog to stop. Shadow play. It's safe. I was fully expecting it to be Keter. SCP-1112 is to be locked in Containment Cell 1112 at all times. Permission to study 1112 must go through Dr. Blank. As items are fragile, personnel are advised to handle objects with care. No further precautions are necessary. Description: SCP-1112 is the collective designation for 4 Han Dynasty-era Chinese shadow puppets dated circa blank CE. The items are cut from painted leather and stand 30 centimeters, 12 inches tall, typical of the era's design. Wooden sticks fastened to the joints animate the figures. When not operated, the objects do not exhibit any abnormal properties. 1112's perceptual effects manifest when the objects are animated between a light source and translucent screen by one or more individuals, as in traditional shadow plays. All members of the play's audience will perceive individual figures as the silhouettes of deceased, estranged, or otherwise unattainable persons in their lives. The silhouette figures perform scenes from their lives that either correspond to a subject's memories or are speculative and metaphorical in nature. No commonalities have been observed across all plays, except that they only include the deceased persons as the subject of the scene. Only the silhouettes are visible and will often interact with invisible characters and props. See Experiment Log 1 for documented scenes. Each figure is archetypal in design and symbolizes a category of interpersonal relationship, such as parental, familial, or romantic bonds. The subject perceives each figure as an unattainable person with whom they share that particular connection. When no persons in the subject's life correspond to a figure, the puppet is non-anomalous. Close observation of the silhouettes by subjects have revealed they behave as the real individuals in all aspects, even mirroring nervous tics and gesticulations only the viewer would have been privy to. The silhouettes move with a fluidity and precision that would be impossible with ordinary shadow puppets. The figures, however, do not vocalize. Note that male figures can be observed as female silhouettes and vice versa. The list of 1112 items currently includes 1. A concubine figure in a traditional gown, often observed as the individual's dead lover, ex-wife, old flame, or an object of unrequited affections. 2. An emperor figure wearing battle armor and brandishing a sword, observed as the subject's dead/estranged father or father figure. 3. An empress figure in royal wear, observed as the subject's dead/estranged mother or mother figure. And 4. An ornately adorned ascetic figure with a demonic visage, observed as a person that has inflicted physical and or psychological trauma on the subject. Although there have been no recorded effects of mimetic compulsion to animate the items, individuals that do so, hereby referred to as users, become silent until the current play is concluded. Looking behind the screen reveals no cause of the figure's perceptual effects. The users simply operate the puppets according to their desires and ability, but are unresponsive to external stimuli. As long as the figures are being moved behind the screen, 1112's effects will manifest. When the user ceases operating the figures, all scenes will conclude together, however varied in nature. The play users perform is never seen by the audience and has no bearing on the subject matter perceived. The nature and content of the performance is tailored specifically to individual members of the audience, even if other persons are present in room. Content of scenes tend to vary wildly depending on the figures used, the status of the subject's relationship with the perceived persons, and other psychological predilections. Due to the intimate and emotional subject matter of the performances, understanding the context of documented scenes is dependent on the subject's interpretation of what are often private, inscrutable, and disturbing revelations into their loved ones' lives. Recorded plays with only one figure have included scenes depicting the person's final hours in real time, birth, childhood, traumatic experiences, everyday life, personal triumphs, and more esoteric scenes that could not possibly have occurred, but are inferred to be symbolic representations of some aspect of that late person's life. Plays that have included multiple figures have deviated wildly in content, such as figures holding a roundtable discussion on their opinion of the subject inferred due to lack of vocalizations, to data expunged. Experiment Log 1. D12344, middle-aged male with deceased mother. Figures 2. Subject became increasingly agitated over the duration of the play and became hostile when questioned by the doctor. Subject was sedated and forcibly contained in a psychiatric holding cell until the doctor explained the nature of 1112 and was able to coax them into cooperating. Subject reportedly witnessed a silhouette of his late mother violently assaulted by an invisible assailant for 3 minutes and 34 seconds. Scene matched the memory subject had of an identical assault by his mother's then partner, a blank blank of Wichita, Kansas. Foundation agents were able to procure appropriate records from the WPD and found a domestic assault charge from blank blank blank. Attached police report confirmed the sequence of events. We've established the veracity of the scenes 1112 presents to us, so we know it is either capable of limited omniscience in regards to what it performs for its viewers, or that it somehow dredges up old memories. Research is ongoing. Experiment 3. Subject 13996, middle-aged man with deceased parents. Figures 2 and 3. Subject described having observed the silhouettes of his mother and father ballroom dancing for 9 minutes and 14 seconds. He was unaware of the scene ever occurring and stressed their marriage was generally untroubled. Whether the play event was a reenactment of a real-life occurrence or a metaphorical interpretation of a relationship on the part of the item is as of yet unknown. Okay, next is Experiment 13, D19564, late 20s female with deceased parents and ex-husband. Figures 1, 2, and 3. Subject reported to have observed younger silhouettes of mother and father engaged in conversation with ex-husband. At approximately the 4-minute mark, the ex-husband reportedly placed his arm around the mother's waist, provoking a physical altercation between the two males. Subject's father was apparently knocked unconscious. Play ended on a shot of ex-husband and mother in physical embrace. Subject became flustered while recounting the event, placed in holding cell until conditions improved. We don't know if the items are deliberately fabricating psychologically harmful content, or if it is simulating some of the subject matter based on real unquantifiable variables. We just don't know. Experiment 30. D13961, middle-aged male with a deceased mother, figure 3. Subject observed the silhouette of his mother methodically dismembering itself over the span of an hour. Figure began with rear, progressed to the thighs, stomach, backside, and was amputating its left arm before they became hostile and the testing was halted. The figure appeared to be unaffected despite severe blood loss. He became extremely unnerved as the scene progressed and was placed in a holding cell for the remainder of the day. In a follow-up interview, he explained his mother had struggled with body dysmorphic disorder. Subject confirmed she had recently expired of natural causes. Even the most bizarre scenes have some basis in reality. Test 32, D18431, teenage male incarcerated for murder. Figures 4 and 1. 4 reportedly manifested as redacted. 4 proceeded to 1 huddled on the far side of the screen and data expunged. Testing halted when subject broke restraints and assaulted user. Terminated ahead of schedule. First documented instance of a prop item materializing on screen. 4 noted to have felt slightly warm to the touch for next hour. Okie dokie. Next up is Lachesis' spinner. I'm pretty sure Lachesis is something spider related. Safe. Due to it posing no risk when in a passive state, 1113 can be stored as a secure box in a standard containment room. If required for testing, it may be signed out for use by level 3 researchers and above. Any testing involving D-class mortality must be approved in writing by a member of senior staff prior to commencement. Description: SCP-1113 is a small spinning top comprised of a hollow bronze base, heavily oxidized and showing small flecks of blue from having been previously painted. The upper section is a porcelain figure on the upper body of a woman, painted with enamel and with a blue and brown blouse made of a rough cotton. It is spun by means of wrapping the string around it and then pulling firmly to rotate the top at speed. The figure is attached to the bronze segment of a clear resin-like glue concurrent with the apparent age of the manufacture, circa 1915. The bronze component has been estimated by thermoluminescent dating to have been cast around 50 BCE, give or take 40 years. There are imperfections in the alloy and tooling marks on the inside of the top that suggest the bronze has been retooled and was formerly used in a different construction. When 1113 is spun by hand, the person doing so does not age or suffer any degeneration to their body due to the effects of aging or illness for as long as the top is spinning. Tests using automated robot spinning the top suggest it will spin for anywhere up to 14 hours when spun with sufficient force, using levels of force within realistic limits of human strength. Any wounds caused before or during the top being spun remain present and are not affected in any way. The individual is still immortal to life-threatening injury while the top is being spun. The top came to the attention of the Foundation in blank when alerted by a member of the London Metropolitan Police Force with connections to the Foundation. He reported that it had been taken as evidence from a house in Brighton, UK, which had been entered by the Sussex police after reports of neighbors of an unpleasant smell. On forcing their way into the house, they discovered the corpse of a man who was estimated to be around 70 years old. His body was on the floor with one arm stretched out under the sofa. Officers found the spinning top at the back of the sofa. His right palm showed heavy calluses at the base of all the fingers and a wound approximately 1 centimeter deep across the center of the palm, which appeared to be cauterized through burning or friction. Estimates suggest that it would take many weeks of constant friction between the string and palm to cause such extensive damage. There was also severe damage to the right shoulder socket and extreme dislocation caused by the arm being overextended in attempts to reach the spinning top. Although there is very little personal information found in the flat, the body was identified as belonging to Richard Mark Piper from a 19-something driving license and a birth certificate found in the flat, giving the deceased date of birth as December 24th, 18-something. Further information may be found in the supplemental materials, consisting primarily of a set of journals found at the home of the deceased and the police witness reports from neighbors. Okay, here's their supplemental materials. It definitely works. I mean, I'm not sure how, but every time I start the top spinning, it's like my hands are opening, expanding like a parched man giving a canteen of water. If I had this sooner, I could have helped win this damn war. I wonder how it works. It's magnetism, perhaps, or some of that crystal hokum. Hokum? What am I saying? I'm writing this using a fountain pen with my wonderful working hands. April 19-something. The people at the club are always asking how I look so good for my age. They think I'm a 60-year-old that looks 50 and they're impressed. Imagine if they knew the truth. I remember the last coronation, let alone this one. This truly is a marvel. I wish I could tell the world what I have discovered, but then it would be taken from me, I know this. If only I could have let Rachel use it. She seems so frail these days. But if I did know, she'd not be able to resist telling friends. Woman can't even get a new night cream without telling everyone on the street about it. June 2000-something. Can't hold the pen very well. My hand is awfully sore. Can't stop, though. I can feel him breathing down my neck, the Reaper. I know I've held him off too long. It's getting harder and harder. Now she only spins for a couple of minutes at a time. She must keep dancing. She dances so beautifully. I don't want to die. Although it's clear that the effect of this item could result in its use becoming obsessive, we have no evidence on whether or not this is merely psychological or a conditioning created by the SCP itself. Until this is known, it is suggested that use is restricted to D-Class personnel. So it sounds like it's a spinning top where if you spin it, you can't die. But if it ever stops spinning, you definitely die. And this guy had been alive for at least 150 years longer than he should have been, and he's like, okay, so death is like right behind me. Keep spinning, and Death's like, I'm going to curb stomp your shoulder now. And then he died. What a dummy. It's Euclid. SCP-1114 is to be contained in a secured modular locker at Storage Site 12. This locker is to be placed within the perimeter of the compound, at least 75 meters away from any other structure or outdoor area accessible to personnel and/or SCPs. 1114 is to be observed by CCTV camera, the feed from which needs to be analyzed continually by optical image recognition software for potential changes to the deformable faceplating. The camera and the server running the software are to be connected to a backup power supply so that in the event of a power failure, continued surveillance is guaranteed. Weekly maintenance checks of both camera and server are to be executed by authorized technical staff. Tests using 1114 are to be authorized by a level 4 member of research staff. If an anomaly is detected outside of scheduled testing, the senior research staff member on site is to enact protocol Wanderlust immediately. A security detail is then to search the area around 1114's location for human remains, should no such remains be present in its locker. Description: SCP-1114 is a Model SA blankety-blank automotive crash test dummy from the Hybrid 2-something series as manufactured by Blank between 19-something and 19-something else. A mark was discovered stamped into the underside of the SCP-1114's solid vinyl foot, identifying its production date as blankety-blank 19-something. Research into the company's history have not yielded any significant events around that time to account for the SCP's properties. Samples taken from 1114 indicate it is constructed of materials appropriate for both the time period in which it was manufactured and for the model in question. A steel skeletal construct with aluminum and bronze joints covered in various solid vinyl skin and vinyl foam components. In its inactive state, 1114 is for all intents and purposes a typical automotive frontal impact crash test dummy. Its anomalous properties manifest when a human being sustains a physical injury within a range of 50 meters from its current position. 1114 then imprints on the subject and its face plating remolds itself to resemble the face of the subject. Any physical injury through external forces will then manifest only on 1114. This has been proven to include blunt force trauma and puncture wounds of various levels of severity. Strikes with blunt or sharp implements will appear to bounce off the subject, but if the blow would have severed any part of the subject's body, it will sever a corresponding part on 1114. However, tests have also demonstrated that while the damage itself is not applied to the subject, the pain is. When trauma is induced, the subjects exhibit behavioral patterns appropriate to a person receiving. This includes screaming, weeping, and on a physiological level, loss of consciousness. So if you lop off their arm will remain, but they will still feel like you lopped off their arm and everything that implies. This effect has been observed to be reciprocal, with any damage done to 1114 manifesting on the body of the subject imprinted on. When 1114 is damaged, test subjects immediately develop the appropriate trauma and according sensations. If 1114 is displaced by the injury caused, this movement does not appear to carry over to the subject. So it sounds like the painting of Dorian Gray, but vice versa, and also a test dummy instead of a painting. Damage done to the SCP when in its inactive state does not seem to have an abnormal effect. Damage shows up and remains on the SCP until its next activates. At that point, all damage disappears as described below. Once imprinting has occurred, 1114 does not appear to imprint on another subject. This process does not seem to be reversible except by termination of the subject. Unless the test subject qualifies for continued existence as understood in Guideline 1114-G1, Protocol Wanderlust is initiated. Upon unimprinting, 1114's face plating reverts to its initial form, and any and all damage done to it instantly disappears. This includes previously severed parts reappearing, even if previously removed from the test site or destroyed. The method by which it reassembles itself is unknown at this time. If these events do not transpire within 30 minutes of the subject having been declared officially terminated, 1114 is to be destroyed. Staff are to be alert for the appearance of remains on site. Addendum A1, Recovery and Preliminary Containment Notes. SCP-1114 was discovered on blankety-blank 2000-something at some place in Germany in the blank plant after it had been used in a safety test for the new model blank SUV. Foundation operatives were called in after sleeper agents within the plant made contact and reported the incident. A press release was sent out detailing an unfortunate industrial accident. Addendum A2, excerpts from testing log. Name, personnel ID, Dr. Blankety Blank. Test subject 1, a common chimpanzee, Pan troglodytes. 1 short beach common dolphin, Delphinus delphins. 1 chicken, Gallus gallus domesticus. Who named these things? Summary goal, to see whether it is able to imprint on other species. Transcript, all animals were sedated and strapped in place to secure ease of handling. A needle was inserted into the chimpanzee's left upper thigh. No change to 1114's face plating occurred within a period of 30 minutes following the initial injury, and the chimpanzee was taken back to its cell. A small cut was made in the dolphin's dorsal fin. No change to its face plating occurred, and the dolphin was taken back to its tank. One of the chickens had its wings broken. Nothing changed, and the chicken was taken to the mess hall. 1114 does not appear to imprint on other species. Okay, test designation 15. Dr. Blankety Blank, test subject D53466. The summary goal, to determine the extent of the relation between the SCP and the test subject after imprinting. Transcript, they were forcibly strapped and placed in a high-backed chair by security staff present. A needle was then inserted into the subject's left upper thigh. The image recognition software registered a change to 1114's face planting after approximately 5 minutes. The doctor then instructed one of the security staff present to hit them over the head with his baton. He pleaded loudly but was struck as instructed. No injury presented itself on the subject's body, but 1114 immediately developed a large dent in the area where the head had been struck. The subject did exhibit signs of distress after the blow, complaining of severe pain and repeatedly attempting to reach for his head. After this test, 1114 was data expunged. Remains were collected and disposed of as per regulations. Conclusion: 1114's imprinting on subject does not transfer feelings of pain to 1114, only physical damage to the body. Test 53. Test subject 92832. The goal, to determine how much damage done to 1114 affects test subjects. D93832 was strapped down as per testing protocol. Subject was extremely apprehensive and agitated, requiring several security personnel to restrain him. Doctor left the room and returned with a sedative. After forceful application of said sedative and a small time spent waiting for it to take effect, testing proceeded. A needle was then inserted into the subject's left upper thigh. A change to the face plating was registered after approximately 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Security staff was then instructed to discharge his sidearm at 1114's head at point-blank range. 93-832 was allowed to recover from the effects of the sedative in his cell. Dr. Blank was returned to his next of kin in a closed casket. Conclusion. Testing protocol needs revision. We need to very carefully match the faceplating against all personnel in the activation radius, not just the test subjects. Wait, so why was the doctor the one that died? I don't think it said that he got hurt. The subject was extremely apprehensive and agitated, requiring several security personnel to restrain him. The doctor left the room and came back with a sedative after forceful application and a small time waiting for it to take effect. Okay, so it sounds like the doctor probably got hurt while trying to sedate the dude, so that the SCP took his face instead. So then they shot the SCP and the doctor died. Well, that sucks for him. And that brings us to distant early warning. An SCP-1115 drone at low altitude during signal transmission. It's Euclid. No attempt to capture, intercept, or interfere with 1115 is to be made until further notice. 1115's movement is to be monitored by satellite at all times, and by Foundation UAVs traveling at a distance of 50 kilometers. Equatorial weather conditions are to be monitored, and Mobile Task Force Upsilon 638 Phoenix Nest is to be placed on standby in the event of any phenomenon which could result in a disruption of 1115's route. All transmissions of 2 are to be recorded for analysis. In the event of any major deviation from 1115's itinerary, Site 731 is to be evacuated and authorization is granted to execute Procedure Greenbrier at 05 discretion. This doesn't sound like the amount of things you need to do for something that's Euclid. This sounds like Keter level precautions right here. A Foundation front company, Space Communication Properties, has acquired licenses to test UAVs for communications purposes in airspace above the equator. Any sightings of 1115 shall be attributed to the media as being prototypes of these UAVs. In the event that any part of 1115 ceases functioning, Phoenix Nest is to deploy and retrieve it as soon as possible, to be transferred to Site 731 for dismantling and storage. Recovered 1115 artifacts are not to be exposed to any light more intense than 1000 lux. Description. SCP-1115 currently consists of 87 toroidal unmanned aerial vehicles, so UAVs, approximately 1.2 meters in diameter, of unknown manufacture and origin. At all times since direct observation began in 19-something, all 1115 drones have been in flight at an average altitude of approximately 15 kilometers above sea level, traveling due west above areas within 20 degrees latitude north or south of the equator, at an average speed of 1600 kilometers per hour. 1115's speed is synchronized to the solar terminator, and that is what? One of the 2 lines drawn across the Earth's surface delineating the lit and unlit portions of the planet, which move constantly westward as the Earth rotates on its axis. SCP-1115 maintains itself at a distance of approximately 45 degrees longitude east of the Terminator, resulting in its remaining in a daylit part of the world at all times. 1115 maintains this route at all times, completing a circuit of the globe every 24 hours, altering course only if its direct route is impeded by cloud cover or inclement weather. No 1115 drone has been observed to enter a clouded area. The drones comprising, not compromising. When not being interfered with by outside forces or moving to evade meteorological phenomena, fly in a pattern comprising several V formations of the type displayed by migratory birds. The presence of several missing spots in each formation indicates that 1115 initially consisted of at least something 100 drones. At approximately 0500 UTC each day, while 1115 is overflying a region of the Sahara Desert located at blank degrees north, blank degrees east, an individual drone will descend to approximately 5,000 meters above surface level and transmit a radio signal, designated 2, before ascending and returning it to its place in formation. 2 is an audio recording between 41 and 46 seconds in length. I lost my spot. On all recorded instances of a synthesized male voice speaking a language not identified to the Foundation. A large portion of the recording remains the same in all recorded instances, while several other portions vary daily. 2 has occurred every day that 1115 has been under observation, except when cloud cover has made it impossible for a drone to ascend to the transmission zone. The intended recipient of 2 has not been identified. Several Foundation surveys of the area have failed to locate any pre-existing radio antennae, or artifacts similar to 1115. For information regarding the history and translation of 2, refer to Addenda. To date, 1115 has resisted any attempts to capture a drone while in flight. Individual 1115 drones have demonstrated an ability to evade missile and cannon fire, as well as ground-based anti-aircraft weapons, and to disable pursuing aircraft by generating an electromagnetic pulse that 1115 is itself not affected by. On blank 19-something, an aircraft with shielded electronics was used to attempt to intercept a drone. When the aircraft continued pursuit after the EMP was deployed, the drone responded by ramming the aircraft and detonating a miniaturized nuclear device installed within it, destroying itself and the aircraft, and producing a 5-kiloton air blast over the Redacted, where pursuit was occurring. Emergency aerial dispersal of Class E amnestics in the populated areas near Redacted was conducted, and Foundation media assets attributed the after effects to forest fires. All further attempts to intercept are preemptively denied. In addition to the incident described above, 3 drones have ceased functioning since observation began. 2 of the 3 crashed into the Pacific Ocean after an unidentified failure resulted in their suddenly losing altitude. Due to the depth of the crash regions, the Foundation has deemed them unobtainable. The 3rd, which crashed on land near Redacted in North Africa in 1942, was not immediately obtainable due to the ongoing military conflict in the region. Surveys conducted after the war ended have failed to locate it, and it is currently believed to have been buried entirely by shifting desert sands. The Foundation has acquired 1 intact 1115 drone designated 1 to date. For information on its history and findings regarding it, refer to Addenda. Okay, history and analysis. 1 was discovered in 1856 by a British archaeological expedition in Borneo. At the time of its discovery, it was partially buried and heavily caked with volcanic ash, identified as having originated from Mount Tambora, a volcano on the Indonesian island of Sumbawa, which in 1815 was the site of the most powerful volcanic eruption in recorded history. It is speculated that the sudden eruption of Mount Tambora resulted in 1's propulsion system becoming clogged with ash before it could correct its course, causing it to fail and crash. The expedition sold 1 to the Raja of Sarawak, who displayed it as a curio in his royal palace until it was acquired by the Foundation in 1901. As the Foundation lacked the capabilities to properly examine it at the time, it was classified as an anomalous object and archived in Reliquary 38. In 2000-something, a Foundation archivist discovered the similarity between the artifact and SCP-1115, leading to it being reclassified as 1115-1 and transferred to Site-731 for study. The exterior of 1 was found to be composed almost entirely of solar energy collector panels, composed of an unidentified polymer. Upon exposure to a bright spotlight generating approximately 5,000 lux, 1 immediately became active and began transmitting a previously undocumented variant of 2. Transmission stopped within 5 seconds of the spotlight being removed. Later data analysis indicated that during the period the transmission occurred, 17 1115 drones broke formation and began to divert from their previous courses in the cardinal direction of Site-731. Further exposure of any captured 1115 artifact to bright light is prohibited. 1115's propulsion system is highly efficient, deriving all necessary power from the solar panels, and appears to be based on theoretical models of Redacted that the Foundation does not yet have the capability to test fully. The majority of 1115-1's interior and all of its external extensions except for a radio antenna consisted of a wide variety of environmental monitoring devices, not all of which have been identified. Devices for measuring temperature, wind speed, humidity, atmospheric concentrations of oxygen, carbon dioxide, and several noble gases, radioactivity, and Redacted have been identified. Printed circuit boards incorporated into the onboard devices bear markings in an unidentified language, possibly the same one heard in 2. A nuclear device believed to be similar to the one detonated on blank 19-something was recovered, consisting of a cube 60mm on each side, composed of an unidentified alloy. Radiometric testing of materials found in 1115-1 indicate that the drone was manufactured approximately 12.3 million years ago, give or take 600,000 years. Collection of further samples is deemed necessary to verify this date. 1 was partially reassembled and is stored at Site-731. A determination has been made that any future 1115 artifacts recovered will be stored at Site-731, as well to prevent any possible further exposure of Foundation site locations to 1115. Okay. Another one. 2 was first detected in 1912 by a Foundation Expeditionary Unit, which was exploring the blank region of the Southern Sahara to catalog anomalous items reported there. Upon first reception, the signal was believed to be a unique event. When the same signal was received consecutively several days in a row, further investigations ensued, resulting in the construction of a permanent listening post to receive all further transmissions. As 1115 itself could not be detected at the time, the signal itself was classified as 1115. With the discovery of 1115 and 19-something, it was reclassified as 1, and later as 2 when the artifact now designated 1 was reclassified. The Foundation has collected over 30,000 recordings of 2 to date. 2 has broadcast on approximately 97% of all calendar dates since observation began. As 2 is the only known example of the language spoken in it, attempts at translation have proven next to impossible. Foundation linguists have noticed similarities between the language of 2 and the Basque language, as well as the constructed language blank. Due to the presumed age of 1115, these similarities are believed to be coincidental. The first breakthrough in translating 2 did not occur until 19-something when blank blank, a senior Foundation linguist, discovered that a certain word found in all early recordings of 2 had been replaced with a different and longer word beginning in July of 1945, and, in spite of frequent changes afterwards, the original word had never been used again. Dr. Blank speculated, in conjunction with information gathered from the study of 1, that the word in question was in reference to atmospheric radioactivity produced as the result of the detonation of nuclear weapons. Based on this assumption, Dr. Blank and staff were, by 2000-something, able to decipher a series of words referring to numbers in a 12-base system. Based on the known purposes of instruments found in 1, inferences have been made identifying the meanings of several other words in 2. Below is a transcript of a 2 broadcast received on blank 2000-something, with current speculated meanings footnoted. Yaham te ahal. Meaning unknown, this phrase repeats several times throughout 2. It is currently speculated to be a nationalist or religious proclamation. Alar e ahalam. Meaning unknown. Ahalam a Embera B8AA092A. This number has increased by 1 in each subsequent recording, currently speculated to indicate the number of successive broadcasts made. Tiaste. Global mean temperature on an absolute scale similar to the Kelvin scale. 114.1 Anak Hime? Relative humidity. Miarnak Dales. Wind velocity in an unknown scale and an unidentified term possibly indicating direction. 7 Her. Yahamte Hal Miar Falars, atmospheric radiation in a measurement similar to the Sievert scale, 0.00050A22. Yaham Hal Hemakim M Mola, meaning unknown, 216060B. Yahar Se Sel Tavas, meaning unknown, 8.6. Raham, redacted, 14A Tavas, meaning unknown, in recordings 1945, 1947 to 73, 79, 83, 97 to 98, 2005, and 2009 to 11, the phrase Be Tavas is heard instead. Chirkum Embera Ate 20 Narnares Halam, believed to indicate that 1115 will report again the following day unless new orders are received. Yahamte Ahal, Yahamte Ahal, Yahamte Ahal. It's the Airborne Automaton Euclid Language SCP Swarm. This really doesn't sound like it's Euclid. I guess it's only Euclid because they don't have to worry about it as long as they leave it alone. But the fact that they don't know what it is and there's nothing they can do to make it stop and that they can't contain it because it explodes does sound like it should be Keter. In any case, that about does it for this episode of Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. And the next one we're going to be checking out humanoid remote drones, feasting table, as summum, no touching, and freeze tag. If you like this video, a like and a subscribe will be groovy. If you didn't, you don't need to do either one of those things. If you'd like to click the bell, you can do that as well so that you're notified of my next upload. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Later.